Episode 67.
Look, if you had one shot or one opportunity to live the life you wanted, one moment, would you take it or just let it slip?
Yo.
If your brain's confetti, stressed out and forgetting, there's a show on the air already, a podcast machete cutting through all the walls to help you get into the calm. I'm not reading your palms so you can drop the crystal ball, see it all. You have the ability to see what you want. A new show has come out. What's it all about? It's playing now and you're here listening now. This week's run out. Time's up over. Pow!
Listen, it's learning and growing. You own it and you hear yourself with every episode. The overwhelmed brain's hot. You can't miss a single show. The opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Yo, you gotta listen, it's learning and growing. You own it and you hear yourself with every episode. The overwhelmed brain's hot. You can't miss a single show. The opportunity comes once in a lifetime. Yo.
Rising higher than mainstream thinking. Are you annoyed by affirmations? When someone tells you to think positively, do you introduce the person to your friend, hoping they'll save you from any more amazing insights? If affirmations feel like lies and positive thinking feels like denial, then start the journey of incredible learning and growth so that you can create the life you've always wanted now. Hello, this is Paul Coliani, host of The Overwhelmed Brain, the personal growth show for the critical thinker. On this show, I discuss practical, down-to-earth steps to help you improve your mood, your sanity, and your life. We'll talk about why we do the things we do and what we can do to reach higher levels of happiness and lower levels of stress and overwhelm. My goal is to help you become empowered so that you can create the life you want. Today's sponsor is The Overwhelmed Brain. Visit theoverwhelmedbrain.com/books and get the ebook Clear the Path to Happiness. It's about what you can do to clear all the obstacles that prevent you from being, well, as happy as you deserve and learning where that happiness is inside you. Visit theoverwhelmedbrain.com/books. Well, I haven't taken on coaching clients in many years because the last time I did, I had a few of my own issues come up. This was back in 2009 when I had a practice in Texas. I took a few clients in back then, but soon felt like I wasn't smart enough to be coaching others. And I also felt weird for charging people for what I did because of that very reason. And then after I got married and had my own marital issues to deal with, I felt even less smart. So I stopped coaching altogether. I mean, how can I honestly help others if I can't help myself? So even though I helped my clients get fantastic results back in 2009, I still felt like I wasn't smart enough to help them. So here I am 5 years later, taking on a client, thinking about my own skills and worth. But this time, I noticed something different. I noticed that I don't have the limiting belief inside me that says I'm not good enough or smart enough. I recognize a confidence in my abilities that I didn't have before. I mean, it's true that I have studied and learned more about human behavior over the years. It's also true that I've faced my own issues and overcome many challenges in my own life that I can share with others so that they may learn how to get through the situations I've been through. But regardless of everything I've learned and all the experience I've had over the years, there's really only one reason I feel differently now than I did back in 2009. I still don't think I'm very smart, but I do have something that I didn't have back then that I apply to everything I do nowadays. And that's this. I know I don't have all the answers, and I'm not afraid to show that to people. In other words, I'm not afraid to tell people I don't know. And on top of that, because I am now comfortable not knowing, I'm also comfortable helping my clients explore what's going on in themselves. In 2009, I felt confident in what I was doing because I was supposed to. After all, I believed if a client detected that I was nervous or didn't know an answer, they might see me as incompetent. But a funny thing happened in the last 5 years. I got very comfortable not knowing things that I thought I should know. I got comfortable not having confidence in my abilities. I got comfortable with almost everything I used to be nervous about in myself. It was an acceptance of my limitations. By accepting that I'll simply never know everything I need to know, I was able to develop confidence in a different way. I no longer had to hide behind the essence of an all-knowing guru. I just had to show up as myself and talk to people. When I started being authentic is when I started gaining my confidence back. Authenticity is one of my highest values, and the more authentic I am in life, the more life just seems to work out for me. When Michael first reached out to me for a coaching session, he's a coach and host of the Heal from the Ground Up podcast, I was surprised. After all, I thought coaches were supposed to have it all together because they're helping others through their stuff. That thought, however, was only a flash because I quickly realized that we all need coaching in some form, sometime in our life, because no one has experienced everything there is to experience. I've not experienced what it's like to have a child, so I rarely, if ever, give advice on how to raise children. But if I ever had a child, you could be sure I'd ask someone to coach me through the challenges of being a parent. I've never directly experienced being addicted to drugs or alcohol, which is why I rarely give advice on how to break your addictions. So if I became addicted, I would likely find a group, coach, or therapist that dealt with that sort of thing. It doesn't mean I wouldn't have good advice for myself with either situation, but people who have gone through things or worked with others who have gone through the same things are going to be a lot more knowledgeable on the subject matter than I am. So when Michael reached out to me, my immediate thought was, why me? You're a coach. Until I gained perspective and realized that even people helpers have to go through their own transformations, just like I did. In 2009, I had limitations that stopped me from not only helping other people, but also from making a living. Closing the doors on that business meant I'd have to find my income elsewhere. Limiting beliefs in your life cause this to happen. They close doors that could lead to big success in your life. I once believed that I wasn't smart enough and felt like I wasn't worth the money that people paid me to help them through their problems. Even though people would change before my eyes, it wasn't enough to convince me that I was doing something right. And because I didn't have the belief I needed to succeed, I went back to the world I knew, that of computers and technology, and made a living that way. However, I stuck to the books and studied all the time, learning all I could because I loved learning about what makes us tick. In the past 5 years, I've helped friends and family get through some pretty big challenges. When I was doing it for free, it took the pressure off. Hey, if they don't change, well, at least they didn't pay. What I learned, though, is that people do change no matter what I charge, because all of them had change in mind when they came to see me. As soon as they walked through the door, it was a commitment to themselves to make the changes they needed to make in order to improve their lives somehow. This realization that people were responsible for their own change, not me, freed me from feeling any negativity about coaching again. And when Michael reached out as a fellow coach, I had that flash of, why me? And then I remembered, wait, this isn't about me. This is about him taking the step to make the changes he needs to make in himself. Sure, I can help facilitate that change, and I have helped him work things out in himself a few times now, but even when he presents me with some mind-boggling challenges that I have no clue how to resolve, I bring that challenge back into him to help him discover his own resources and solutions. Yes, there is a skill involved in doing this, and yes, I have now learned a lot that I can teach him and others, but the basic premise of turning the responsibility of everything going on in your life back on yourself instead of pointing the finger at anyone else is part of every process I go through, especially when I have issues that come up for me. It doesn't mean that no one else is at fault for what's happening in your life. It just means that no one else is responsible for how you feel about the things happening in your life. This is part 1 of a 2-part episode with Michael and his fiance Daria. Michael and Daria don't mind if we record these because, as a coach himself, Michael wants the world to learn from what he's going through in life, in real time if he has to. He's dedicated to being authentic in this world so that he can have the most fulfilling life possible. And Daria wants a fulfilling relationship with Michael and knows that by doing these sessions, she'll get closer and closer to what she wants. She wasn't crazy about being put on the air in the first place, but after our first session, didn't mind at all. Perhaps she realizes the changes she is seeing in their relationship is worth spreading into the world for all couples to learn from. This is why I share so much about my life. I know that what I've gone through, some of you have gone through too, or maybe are going through it now. And by sharing my struggles and how I overcame them, you can take what I've learned and see if they apply to you. Michael and Daria have gone one step further and aired their deeper rooted pains and fears to the world. This is truly stepping into their power. By showing the world their vulnerabilities, they are strengthening their emotional core. When you can be vulnerable to a friend, you bond with that friend. You feel safe with that friend. You also trust that friend. Now, when you can be vulnerable to the world, you bond with the world in a whole new way. You actually feel safer in the world, and you learn to trust the world a lot more than you did. Having this show to express my vulnerabilities to the world has made me stronger and more confident than I've ever been. And when I think about back in 2009, why I believed I wasn't that smart, it was because I believed I needed to put on the mask of confidence where there was none. I had to appear prestige when I wasn't. I changed that when I decided to be vulnerable and show my weaknesses to the world. I became stronger by revealing my vulnerabilities. And this is how I view Michael and Daria. They get stronger from every session, not because I'm smart or great at what I do, but because they are willing to take the steps necessary to make their life happy and satisfying in any way they can. They put themselves on stage for the world to judge or make comments or joke, but also to empathize and sympathize with them and relate to what they're going through. This is where vulnerability plays a huge part in learning and growth. When you choose to be vulnerable, people around you relate. They have to relate because there's a little bit of insecurity inside all of us about something. That is why we love stories of inspiration. They connect in a deep place within us that relate to the struggles that we have before the triumph. My point with all this is that you have it in you, even when you think you don't. You may not have all the answers, but you are smart enough to go forward with anything you want to do. Once you realize that all you need to do is be comfortable not knowing everything, you can do almost anything. Michael and Daria know they need relationship help, so they came to me knowing that they don't have all the answers. I help them explore what it is in themselves that limits them from having the best relationship they could possibly have. You don't have to know everything to move forward with what you're doing. You just have to know that whatever comes up, you'll figure it out. Have the confidence to know that when you are faced with a challenge, you'll figure it out. You always have, haven't you? And if there's a challenge in your life that you still haven't figured out how to overcome, be vulnerable. Let someone know what you haven't figured out yet so that maybe they can help you discover the answer. I've had my own experiences in life that don't match my clients, and they've had their own experiences that don't match mine. We are capable of helping each other in our own unique way, so never let what you think is a lack of knowledge hold you back from going after what you want. Yes, you'll learn new things along the way, and as long as you are open-minded, you'll learn those new things. And if you start a new path and it turns out it wasn't for you, then you can take what you've learned and travel a different path with even more experience than you had before. So I may not have felt smart enough to continue seeking clients back in 2009, but I feel confident that I can share what I know and what I don't know with the people that come to see me now. It's not what you know, it's being comfortable that you don't know everything. Once you align with that, you'll take bold steps and make things happen for you and other people in your life. And every step you take, you learn something new. And that is how you get smarter, by stepping into what you don't know. Don't hesitate because you think you don't know enough, because there's always more to learn, no matter how much you know. And with that said, let's get into a conversation I had with Michael Hsu, the host of the Heal from the Ground Up podcast. This was a conversation that wasn't going to air originally because it is the private talk that Michael and I had prior to the coaching I did with him and his fiance. However, I wanted to air it because there are some lessons to take away from it, and there are also some fun moments that might just make you laugh as well. And since the original airing of this episode will take place during the holidays, sometimes it's nice to listen to something that makes us laugh or at least feel good. That's what I want for you, to feel good. So here comes something from the cutting room floor. I hope you enjoy.
Cousin, she listened to the couples coaching session, and then she said, "Yeah, basically you're engaged to your mom."
Oh, there you go.
I haven't told her that she said that.
Because what happens, and well, I could talk to Daria later. What happens is, and you probably know, is that we tend to dislike something about ourselves, and when we see that in another person, we dislike them. So it's
that's happening all the time now with me, because like my biggest fear is incompetency, and so my subliminal message as I'm getting angry with her is basically, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" Meaning
yourself or her?
Her.
Okay.
I do that to myself, but I can see my anger just explode. It happens with employees at the pharmacy. It's like,
so you mean you feel it inside you when they're being incompetent?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and then Daria will do something inappropriate or wrong, but it's
according to you. My
reaction. Okay, her inappropriate is maybe like a 4 or 5. My reaction is a 30. Whatever. It's just like, it's off the charts. And, she's really loving to me, but I just see that and I just put a stranglehold on it. So she's a great trigger for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because she does things that they're not appropriate. I'm not being obsessive, but my reaction is really, really, obsessive.
She does things that are not appropriate. Is she going out to nightclubs and dancing with guys? I mean, how inappropriate in
No.
Okay.
No, nothing like that.
Okay. You're just talking about leaving the toilet seat down when it should be up.
No, like this morning or yesterday, because right now she's just studying for class, and I will make breakfast, and then my hope is that she makes lunch and we take it out, and then we're in a rush, and I just need to make the breakfast, and I'm the one that needs to get to work early. She can just take her time, but she knows that she wants to leave together. She doesn't want to be home alone since my parents are out of the country. And then so she just...
Oh, wait, so she doesn't want to be home alone because your parents are out of the country? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So as I go to work, she wants to leave at the same time
and go
as
where?
me. Because she doesn't want to be home alone.
Where's she going? Where is she going?
She goes to my work, or my dad's pharmacy where I work.
Does she work or she just hang out?
She studies.
Oh, okay.
But basically, she wasn't really helping me, and I was just like, oh, you should help me. Then I go to her room to see what she's doing, and she's like dancing to music. I'm just like, I'm just making all this. You can't even help me. And I'm like, and then that makes me go crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So she comes to your work, and she's in a separate room, I guess.
Yeah.
And then she told you she was going to be studying, but she's taking a break or dancing or something like that.
No. We're in the house getting ready.
Oh, you're in the house. Okay, I thought it was at work. I was like, wow.
Yeah, we're getting ready, and then I'm like, I would want her to help me, or if she's not helping me, then she's getting ready, but she's just dancing in her room with the music blasting,
right?
And that triggers me.
Right.
It's like, what's wrong with you? How come you don't help me?
Right. Got it. I'm hearing
like these things. Yeah.
I'm hearing things already that I want to comment on, but I don't want to until I talk maybe with both of you, or maybe we talk a little bit more to find out if what I think is correct. What else? Is there anything else you can share that might bother you that she does, or is it typical stuff like that?
I forgot what she did the other day. We were both in bed. We sleep upstairs in the bedroom, and then this is where I kind of work too, and she there's a bedroom downstairs, and that's where she like does her work, and I do my work upstairs, and she's in bed, and I was like, did you turn off the lights? So, and I go downstairs, and she didn't turn off the lights to the hallway and her bedroom. I said, you didn't turn off the lights? Go turn off the lights right now. She's like, no, I don't want to, I'm not feeling well. And I'm just like, all right then. And I turn off the lights, and it's like, if you're not going to turn off the lights, I'm leaving. Because I know her fear is abandonment. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'm going to sleep in a different room. I'm like, when I get angry, I get angry. And I'm going to sleep in a different room.
If you're going to trigger me, I'm going to trigger you. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
That's like the Old West. Draw. And you're both...
He told me, like I said, like, I want you to join in with Paul later on. It's like, no, I'm not going to join because
you want it.
This Sunday is our monthly anniversary.
Oh yeah.
And like I accidentally scheduled a podcast that night, like a coaching session, and then doing other stuff. And I was like, oh, I can reschedule. And then she got mad. She's like, well, I'm going to take revenge, so I'm not going to join the session. I was like, well, if you're not going to join the session, well, I'm going to cut you off. I'm not going to make breakfast for you. I'm going to cut you off. It's just like, this is our...
So let me ask you this. Okay, go ahead.
The thing about not turning off the lights, she refused to. What I did, I went to another room, and I slept there, and I just couldn't sleep. And then I come back to the room. I found out she locked the door. And then I start banging on the wall like a maniac. Because, like, open the door. Like, but I didn't say anything, but she didn't respond. So I'm just like, my reaction is so through the roof.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I know she may do things that are inappropriate, but my reaction is so strong. I know that my reaction is like, what the F is wrong with you? How dare you do that?
Right.
Kind of thing. And
right.
I know that it comes up in the pharmacy as well, because there is an new employee, and then as I'm training him and I see incompetency, I'm just like, same thing. Like, I get so angry.
Let me ask you a very broad question that's probably derogatory in some way. And I apologize if it is, but are Asian children typically highly restricted or structured in discipline and all that?
Yes.
Oh my God, that breath was like, oh, there's a lot in there.
Well, I mean, it's different. It's different because my mom structures me in a different way. Yeah, I think other Asian parents, it's a lot of discipline on grades and titles, doctor, lawyer. But my mom structures me on her OCD. Like this, if you don't do this right, she'll freak out because it means some type of death or danger.
You mean she turns it into, it's like is interpreting as a threat, right? She's interpreting what's happening as a threat to her.
Threat to her, threat to me.
Threat to you. Oh, so
if I don't wash, remember I told you about washing the cup?
Yep.
I washed it. I didn't wash it correctly, and then her response was, she just like was so furious, like, how could you? What's wrong with you? Those chemicals are gonna go into your body.
So she's worried about you being threatened or hurt or damaged or dying or whatever.
Me, that's like I'm ingesting chemicals.
Right.
So I think it's like, if I mentally understand everything, it's like the way she reacts is like, what's wrong with you? You can't even wash a cup directly. And that makes me feel incompetent. And then so I take it out on other people. But even saying that doesn't really help because I still feel the way I do.
Tell her never to look through an electron microscope because she will pass out because there's so many microorganisms on your lips, on the fork, in the cups. There's just so much you can't see.
It's ridiculous. Like we have a person that helps because my dad is too busy and my mom's busy. So they have somebody that cooks dinner each night, and she won't allow the housekeeper to cook vegetables with any salt because vegetables with salt overnight will turn into poison. And it's just like the food just tastes so bland.
Right.
Stuff like that annoys me.
So the real problem here is bad diet, it sounds like. No, yeah. I'm kidding. Well, let me ask you this, since that joke went nowhere. Who's the first to apologize between you and Daria?
She is.
So she comes to you and says, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have responded, or I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that. Something like that.
Yeah.
Why is she usually the first one to apologize? Oh, I'm going to get you.
Feel like a fish and you hooked me on my mouth.
That's right. That's right.
I didn't even know I got hooked.
Good question though, isn't it?
I think I like that in her, that she can recognize that she does something that was inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. And when she apologizes, do you apologize after, or do you ever apologize?
Even though I know that I'm wrong, my wrong is my overreaction. And I know, and I say, I'm sorry I did it, but I'm not like that. Like, I don't show with that much feeling because this is what I realize in my mind. I want to hang on to the fact, like, some of this is still your fault.
Right.
So I'm still like projecting it onto her. I don't want to own up to my own insecurities, I feel like.
So even after she apologizes and she realizes it's her fault, you're still projecting that. You're still pushing the blame on her.
Oh, but it's different episodes. Like,
okay.
She'll say sorry, and then like it's okay, but then and we'll talk it out. But another thing that like I overreact to her, and then I'll tell her later, I overreacted, but I don't really say like I'm sorry, and then become really loving to her afterwards because I'm still holding that grudge.
All right.
A little.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't really mean that's good. I just mean it's good for me for ammo for in a minute here. So let me write something down here. Here we go. I'm not going to tell you what I'm writing down. When she apologizes, or one of you apologizes, what makes you want to hold on to being right? Why are you so attached to that?
I gotta think of a situation.
Well, this is in general. I mean, in general, I think that, and from what I'm seeing or what you're telling me, in general, you pretty much think that she's wrong more time than she's not. Correct?
Yeah.
So why are you so attached to being right about your faulting her, blaming her? Why are you so attached to that? What's going on inside of you that makes you want to hold on to that?
From what I've been processing recently, I feel like what I'm doing is saying, what's wrong with you? And instead of confronting the pain that I feel of, that I'm not confronting, is what's wrong with me.
So knowing that that's inside of you, because a lot of people don't know that. They just immediately go, you're wrong, and I don't care. I'm not going to apologize back because I know you're still wrong. But they never address what's going on inside of them typically. So knowing what you know about yourself, what prevents you from being vulnerable in that moment?
In that moment, it's hard because the anger just overtakes me. It's after the fact. And then I lessen my anger. But I'm still there's still this...
You're triggered.
There's still this little glass wall or something.
All right. And so when she does something, from what you say, wrong or inappropriate, when she does something wrong or inappropriate, again, your words, because I'm going to use different words in a little bit. What are you angry about? Yeah, she left the light on, or yeah, she locked the door, but are you covering something inside yourself? You said you were afraid to face your insecurities, or, I mean, what exactly are you angry about?
I'm trying to figure...
Pick one scenario. We can explore one scenario because it's probably all going to come back to the same root problem or problems.
I don't want to embarrass.
You're not worried about embarrassing yourself right now? Because it's going to come back to you, my friend. Well, you already told me a couple scenarios. That one scenario where she locked the door. There's a good example. You came back and she locked the door. Right?
Yeah.
And you got angry.
Yeah.
What are you angry about? The obvious answer is, well, she locked the door.
That she disrespected me.
All right, there you go. So there's something that she's hitting a little bit deeper.
Oh yeah. And then she does it subconsciously.
Well, now you're mind reading. Now you're saying she's doing this on purpose. And it's possible she knows your trigger spots, and she is, but if you don't go in that direction, like she's doing this to me, and then come back into yourself and saying, what's happening inside of me? Because that's what happens. You go external. You immediately want to put your boxing gloves on and get in the ring and be external about it and just throw some punches. Instead of taking a step back out of that situation and go internal and go, okay, I am really angry right now. And what you want to do is go outside yourself and throw some punches, metaphorically. And it may take some practice, but take a step inward and go, okay, what am I angry about inside of me? Because I'm going to throw this at you. I bet you if this is too hard. I shouldn't throw this at you, but it might hurt. I bet you if she was dead on the other side of that door, you probably wouldn't be angry at her anymore. Because it's happening inside of you. There's something happening inside of you. And I hate to throw that scenario at you, but it does make us take a quick, 2-second breath before we lose our temper, knowing that somebody in our life could be hurt in some way. Not so much dead, but when people get into a defense mechanism, they're hurt. They're backing off too. And when you have two people that want to go external and throw on the boxing gloves and punch each other, it never goes anywhere because nobody's backing off. They want to own their anger. They want to own their righteousness. and they want to own the fact that whatever they believe is true, or whatever picture they want to paint to make themselves more powerful in the situation is true, or something like that. So you're behind a locked door, and you take a step backwards in yourself, and you go, okay, I'm angry at her, but what's happening inside of me? You could still be angry at her.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that I disrespect myself in many ways.
You disrespect yourself.
Yeah, I know. I attack myself subconsciously of how stupid I am, how incompetent I am. I do notice that for sure.
And when that's happening, so what I'm hearing, and I'm going to read your mind. What I'm hearing is when she is when you feel disrespected by her, it amplifies the disrespect you feel about yourself. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that true?
Yeah.
You think that's true?
Yeah.
So hearing that, or feeling it, or experiencing it from someone else reaffirms something you already believe about yourself. Is that correct?
Yes. And when she does that, then it sets me off. Like, I know, I mean, she'll do it like subconsciously. She has this thing against my mother. I shared on my Facebook that that session, the episode I did where I shared the impact of my mother. Mm-hmm. And she made a comment because it wakes up something in her. And she's like, oh, she made a really, really inappropriate comment, like really childish and defaming me. Oh. But it coming out of her wanting to not deal with her parents and therefore not want to deal with my parents. But anyways, I know where it came from, so I'm okay with, like, I understand it. But her words, just like, that's utter disrespect, and it just shot me through the roof.
All right. And what I notice is when you respond to something that she does, it's more defensive and outward instead of, how can I say? It's not really offensive. It's more of, expressing what's going on inside of you as if you were hurt. Because the first thing that I thought of, if my girlfriend did something like that, I would say, wow. I would go inward and go, wow, I'm really hurt by that. What you just did, it really feels bad. And I would say, I wish you hadn't done that. I would say things like that. But from what it sounds like you do, it sounds like you come with her with more force. Yeah. Because you don't want it to happen. So now you're like, what are you doing, you crazy B.I.? This is a public Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know someone who's gotten different comments on their Facebook page, and there were childish comments, and they were like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
So I know how that goes, but so it still comes back to the question of what you're really angry about. Anger covers like fear, sadness. Anger isn't really an emotion.
Should I invite Daria in right now?
Anytime, if she's ready.
I mean, she's ready, but because I wanted to, because I know it. I feel like it's my fear of my own incompetency, my fear of what is it? I don't know. Like, yeah, just my own incompetency. And I keep on
Go ahead.
Projecting that.
What does getting angry do, though? How does that help?
It helps me see my own pain.
All right, so you get angry, and that helps you see your own pain.
Because I was like, I get it literally consumes my soul, and I just go like into devil mode, and I just then I take a moment like, oh my gosh, this really, really is my problem.
You have an anger issue, Michael?
You don't know?
I only see you as fun, happy, laughy Michael. I never see you as angry Michael.
No.
I need to set up a webcam in your place.
Yeah.
So you get triggered, and then she gets triggered. Now, does she get angry as well, or does she have a different kind of reaction?
She's done a really good thing where the last session that we had, you said that I need to be like loving rock to her repressed anger. Mm-hmm. So what she has been doing recently has been that loving rock to my repressed anger.
Got it.
So she doesn't say like I get angry, and she just sits there and she's like, I love you, and then just like it's almost like, wow, I'm like holding this grudge, and I'm like, I don't want to say I love you. It's like, bye honey, I love you. I'm like, whatever. But still she's like loving, and she's like, so she's still being that loving rock. Of course there's a threshold, but still in the end she's reacting in a great way.
Yeah. So she's actually making steps to try to squash the situation.
Or just let me like just express it.
Right. And how does that help you then when she does that? Does it help you?
Oh, of course it helps me.
It does.
Because if she were to retaliate, then it would just like literally like escalate everything.
So this is the problem with a lot of couples. I used to know a couple that was very passive aggressive against each other, and they would say snappy things, and they didn't even realize. I don't think they didn't even realize they were doing it. The girl would say, I can't even think of a situation. It'd say something like, it would be great if this table was clean. It's a very passive aggressive comment to her boyfriend, meaning the boyfriend should clean the table, but she never asked directly. So, and then he would say, well, it'd be great to clean it if we had some Windex, but someone spent all their money on makeup. It would be so hard to listen to because they would be attacking each other without touching each other. Because it's passive aggressive is when you passively basically attack the other person. Now, I don't see that here. What I'm saying is that sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize what you're doing. So what I see with you and Daria is that there is an outward attack against each other and no steps taken to go inward. Now I see Daria taking steps to, be that loving rock and let you express. But it doesn't seem like you want to do that. Or maybe you're just not doing it as often. I mean, you haven't told me this. You'll have to share this with me if you have. But it sounds like the advice I gave to you, she's actually doing for you from last session.
Yeah.
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 So you're having trouble being that person because you're just being triggered too much? I mean, why aren't you in that role as well?
I mean, it's not just in the relationship. It's like I wake up and I notice as I'm driving to work, I have this urge to look at my phone because I feel empty. I feel like uneasy within myself. I need to be doing something. I wake up with anxiety of things I need to do. I wake up with anxiety because I don't want to be late to work, and I feel bad for the employees because it's short staff right now. And so like I notice all these feelings in myself of how I beat myself up, and I notice it. It's just I don't know what's the next step.
Okay.
I know I projected onto her. She's great. She's amazing. So the problem is not really her. I mean, there's some problems I want to talk to you about, but as far as like my anger around her, it's really, I know it's me. And I know it. Yeah, I just don't know what to do next.
Well, the only reason I mentioned that you go external instead of internal is because, and this does lead to the deeper stuff that you're feeling, is that every time something triggers you, you decide to act in a defensive manner with your metaphoric gloves on, your boxing gloves on. And I would love for you to be able to, and I know it's hard when you're triggered, but to be able to just step inside yourself for a moment and going, okay, I know I'm angry at this, and I know I'm upset about this, but what's underneath that anger? And you you seem to know consciously what it is. Well, I'm insecure and I'm this and I'm this, but there's always a deeper level question that you can find out, okay, what am I insecure about and why am I insecure about that and what's causing this insecurity? And then you go deeper than that. Oh, what's causing this insecurity is, I got a lot of negative self-talk. Okay, what do I say to myself? And you just start digging more and more, but it's hard to do in the moment because you're being triggered and your fight or flight is up and now you're just defending yourself. So the one thing I noticed when you were telling me about this might actually lead to what I was talking about the other couple, the passive aggressiveness. It's kind of a passive thing that you're doing, at least from what you explained to me. And that is, for example, when Daria didn't shut the lights off. And you explained like 3 scenarios that told me that she should have known something. And that's the gist I get from you, is that she should have known these things. But I never got from you that you actually directly asked her to do any of these things. Hey, hon, would you mind shutting the lights off? I mean, maybe you did, I don't know. Would you mind shutting the lights off before you come up? Instead of assuming, hey, you know what, she should know to shut the lights off, and if she doesn't, I'm going to get angry. So I don't know which direction do you typically go with that?
This is a good point. I feel like she should have known. And when I do tell her, I notice that she does make the effort to correct it.
So one thing I learned in relationships is that when you know that your partner either doesn't do things unless asked or doesn't have the wherewithal to know what you want, then you have to ask. And it's just it's a simple thing, but you don't, because I know where you're at. You're like, you know what? You know you should lock the door. We live in this neighborhood and you just know you should lock the door. But then you say that over and over again and you realize, oh, she doesn't know she's supposed to lock it. She must forget. So what I'll do is I'll just ask her, hey, can you lock the door while you're there? It's just a single step that you can take in a direction to help her, because you already know that she does, quote, inappropriate or wrong things. So as her life partner and her supporter, you are there to help her in ways that and this is in your mind, that she's doing the wrong thing. So you're there to help her do the right thing. Hey, I know she's going to forget to turn the lights off, so I'm going to ask her while she's down there. I know she's going to forget to take out the garbage, and I wish she would remember, but I'm going to ask her anyway. Hey, could you take out the garbage? And it starts to build a new foundation for communication, and that's where I'm going with that.
I know. But I notice my reaction is so strong, and I know that me telling her will help her change. She'll correct the behavior, and I don't need to get so emotional about it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that I get so emotional, I remembered we're getting ready because we leave the house together, and she's, I do a lot of things for preparing breakfast, and then as we're leaving, it's her. I was like, okay, I assumed it's her responsibility to close the windows for upstairs. And I notice I'll go upstairs and like the windows are all open, and then it initiates that anger again in me. And I took a moment to pause, and I noticed that because this room is basically where I work in, mm-hmm. or where we sleep and I work, and it's like it has like a bunch of my clothes everywhere. It's such a mess. Mm-hmm. And all I can see is the windows that are not open. Right, but the windows that are open. So it's like I know that my focus is on her and not on me. And to me, I know that's what I do. I just project. I project.
Right, but at that point, that's when you get angry, when you find the open windows. Correct?
Yeah, but I caught myself. I didn't get angry. I didn't tell her anything. But I noticed how like my projecting is so much on other people and her that I forget about myself.
But I'm sorry. I have to interrupt. At the thought because you said, I assume she's going to close the windows. I'm sure you heard yourself say, I assume she's going to close the windows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At that thought, knowing that she may or may not do it, that's your moment to make a decision to say, hey, could you close the windows? When I was married, my wife used to say, I already told you this. And she hated it when I forgot something. Hated it. She would say, I already told you. Don't you remember? And every time she did that, I felt so invalidated. I felt like I was an idiot. I felt like I was stupid. I felt like everything that she was saying was true. Like, she didn't say it, but I just felt like she was saying, you're so dumb. You're so dumb. Even though I did all this stuff for myself in my life and was able to accomplish a lot and be successful, I couldn't even remember something stupid. Or something not stupid to her, but just the whole idea of a memory forgetting something why is that so important? Unless, you had to feed a sick kid or something. But that's what would happen is she would say things like, I can't believe you. Why did you forget? So I finally said, would you do me a big favor? Because it hurts. It hurts me when you say things like that because I don't intentionally do it. I'm not intentionally hurting you and forgetting these things. But knowing that I forget, could you do me a favor and not react the way you're reacting? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, every time you say that, I feel bad. I feel like you think I'm hurting you. And then when you say things like that, it hurts me. So do me a favor and know that I will forget. Even if I don't, just know that it's possible that I'll forget so that you won't react the way you react when I do forget. So that's what I see in you. It's like when you know your partner is probably going to do something or not do something, it's good to have in your mind to be their support person and help them when that happens. And you're not really helping them. You're just helping the relationship. You're helping the communication between you. They're perfectly capable of living life on their own. They don't really need help in that sense. But because you have two different communications, you have either two different communication styles or the very same communication style, and you're butting heads. Because of that,
I feel like I should bring her up.
You keep threatening.
Because I don't know. It's just.
Where is she? Bring her up.
She's downstairs.
Is she listening in?
No.
Is she listening into your phone calls?
No. I'll be back.
All right. All right, I cut it off there because at this point, Michael grabbed Daria and we got into a lot of stuff that they were going through. The conversation I had with them is long, so I wouldn't be able to play it in this episode anyway. But I wanted to give you a primer for next week where I let them really go at each other so that I could figure out exactly how they communicate. How you communicate with someone is part of keeping a relationship healthy. Another part of it is how you support the other person. In fact, I would say supporting them is even bigger. And right at the end there, you heard me telling Michael how my wife used to inadvertently invalidate me. She would get frustrated because I didn't remember something, and it felt very unsupportive when she did that. But when I communicated how that was making me feel, I discovered it wasn't her intention to make me feel bad. You'll find that it's rarely someone's intention to make you feel bad. The reason she got so frustrated was because she couldn't stand having to repeat herself. When we explored that in her, it turned out that she felt stupid when people would ask her to repeat herself. So what I thought was her frustration at me and me thinking she thought I was an idiot was really stemming from a feeling of inadequacy about herself. When people asked her to repeat herself, she felt like people thought she wasn't intelligent. Anger or upset towards someone is sometimes very deeply rooted about something you're going through in yourself. However, because there is another person to point the finger at, we rarely look inward and ask ourselves, what is causing this upset inside of me? What about this person's behavior is causing me to be so upset? Something happening with Michael is that when Daria wouldn't do something he expected her to do, he felt disrespected. This amplified the disrespect he already felt towards himself, making him much angrier. There are obviously deeper issues Michael has, but we just ran out of time in this episode to go any further. So what I'd like you to do is tune in again next week for a couples coaching session where the boxing gloves go on and you can hear Michael and Daria go at it in a very heated way. They start arguing, and instead of interrupting them and calming them down, I decided to see how far they would take it. And then after their battle, I helped them both understand what type of communication just took place. The episode will be long, so I may end up breaking it into 2 parts. There's a lot of relationship personal growth coming your way, so whether you're in a romantic relationship or just want to find out how to relate to other people in general, the next episode will be for you. Now, here are some of the quick takeaways from today's show. When we see something in someone else that we dislike in ourselves, we typically dislike that other person. It doesn't matter whose fault it is, as long as you realize that you are responsible for how you react and feel about a situation. Be less attached to being right and more focused on how you can help the relationship progress by supporting your partner. If you are both attached to being right, the boxing gloves come on and you're soon in an argument. When you are vulnerable, you open the door for the other person to be vulnerable. Use I statements like, I feel hurt when you do this or say this. When you can go inward instead of attacking outwardly towards them, you are sharing what's going on inside of you. Again, this is vulnerability, and it gives them an opportunity to open up to you. Passive aggressiveness is attacking one another without touching each other. If you want to convey a message, be more direct instead of hoping your partner will read between the lines of your comments. Assuming your partner will do something will bring disappointment over and over again. It's best to just ask for what you want and throw assumptions out the window. It's like when I was married, my wife never stopped to realize that I did forget a lot. Instead of accepting it and working with me on it, she kept resisting it, hoping it would go away. After she agreed to work on it, we got along great. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's a little different than the norm, as it really was on the cutting room floor, but I found value in it and wanted to share it with you anyway. If you're celebrating, happy holidays. And if you're not, then have a great day anyway. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Overwhelmed Brain. I thank Rodney and Thais, Joanna, Nadia, Dima, Bo, Wesley, Holly, Melissa, Jim, David for his incredible iTunes review, Simon, Hannah, Shelley, Tim, Carol, Chelsea, Donna, Dan, Erica, and Lori for her generous donation to the show. Keep up with the show by heading over to theoverwhelmedbrain.com and sign up for your weekly personal growth message. You can also write to me anytime by sending me an email to paul@theoverwhelmedbrain.com. I want to thank the listeners who are using the Amazon link on the site to support the show. Be sure to shop at Amazon using the link theoverwhelmedbrain.com/Amazon. If you find this show valuable to you, just say thank you by using the Amazon link before you make your next purchase from them. And while you're there, look for my book, Clear the Path to Happiness. You are all making a difference, and it's going towards a good cause. You. If I didn't call your name in this episode, just know that I appreciate you and thank you for being there for me, listening, learning, and growing. Almost everything I've learned about myself is when I was in a relationship. If you're in a relationship, this is your opportunity to explore what triggers you and causes you upset. Even if you're not in any particular romantic relationship, you still have an opportunity to explore your own behavior around others. Other people are the impetus to a lot of our behaviors. Take advantage of that. If you are around people that trigger your emotions in some way, it's a great opportunity to learn more about yourself. The more you learn about yourself, the more other people will benefit when they're around you. They might say, "Hey, something's changed about you. I don't know what it is, but I like it." And you can just smile. Step into your power and be firm in your decisions and actions so that you can create the life you want. Because when you do this, you'll discover what I already know to be true about you. That you are amazing.